In a highly globalized world, competition is stifling by the second. Corporations are scrambling for the finest talent, nations are positioning for advantage, and people fight to thrive. Education is the ultimate advantage. No, the ultimate disadvantage.
So if somebody denies you education, they have denied you everything. But if somebody gives you education, they have given you everything except a ticket to heaven.
In Kenya, everything is at stake for thousands of students unable to raise money for their education. Will they become the next victims of an economic dispensation that is swallowing the unprepared?
My father passed away when I was in standard 7, so I did not have somebody that could support to further my studies. So after 18 years, when I heard the former president, Mwai Kibaki, declaring free secondary, I felt an urge to join secondary. I used to drop out of school probably 1 year to look for the upkeep of my family first.
In Kijabe, I came in 2015. So I used to work like a housekeeper. And then that's where I came now my dream to join School of Nursing. And I didn't even have any money to join the school. And the school fees was 263,800. And I used to be paid only like 12,000. So I was wondering, where will I get money?
You know, by the time I finished my secondary school education, I had a balance of almost 100,000. So I had to work so that I can pay the balance. In fact, I was working at a workshop whereby I was paid 200 shillings per day. So I used to save that money to reduce the fee balance that I had.
I had fee challenges because I had just joined KU and I was thinking of calling off my studies.
The vision to sustain and improve the historical advantage that Kenya has enjoyed over the years is fueled by continuous development of human capital. The progress of individuals like Isaac, Boaz, Samson, Callistus, and millions of others like them. The vision has, through the history of our nationhood, been shouldered by the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB, a state corporation whose mandate is to source for funds and provide loans, scholarships, and bursaries to Kenyans studying in recognized institutions of higher learning.
The vision of HELB is to be able to finance everyone that is seeking a loan to advance themselves by way of higher education.
Over the years, transition from secondary to tertiary education has greatly improved. In addition, over 1,500 TVET colleges have been established in the country over the past decade. These developments have led to increased demand for higher education finance, with government financing fully stretched.
We have a funding gap of about 4.9 billion. If actually we don't get a form of financial intervention this year only, we are looking at about 94,000 students who have already expressed interest in terms of being funded, going without any funding for this year.
At the Higher Education Loans Board, the thought of young people missing out on education, the possibility of lives being wasted and families getting trapped in a vicious cycle, has led us to reimagine our vision of universal financing for higher education in Kenya. Since 2013, we have mobilized 1.5 billion shillings from 40 partners who share in this vision.
So we started with a small partner fund of USAID, and we were trying to get into a space that we have never been before, that is educating the healthcare workers, that is the nurses, who are, work behind the doctors, because for every doctor you require about 10 nurses.
With the help of these partners, we have made it possible for over 50,000 more students to attain higher education over the past 9 years. Our resource mobilization initiatives target specific economic sectors guided by various economic policies. Some of the sectors for which we have mobilized resources include health, maritime, legal, communication, finance, engineering, and water and sanitation. In the health sector, Afya Elimu Fund was set up to increase the number of middle-level health workers in the country.
These students, once they graduate, they're available, as I've said, to provide services for health work, for the health services in some of the remote areas. Talking about the northern frontier, the coastal region, where really we have had shortages for a long time in the country. And so with their presence there, it has really helped, especially when it came to COVID. We saw a demand for health workforce in some of these regions, and the pool was already available. The health workers who had graduated from Afya Elimu were already available.
In addition to Afya Elimu Fund, medical training institutions are also partnering with us, establishing funds that enable a smooth academic journey for their students.
When we started the college in 2012, we already had a problem knowing that the community we're in might not be able to access or be able to come to this college. So when we made HELB in 2014, for us it was connection the first time, and we made the details. And I remember the following year when we had our graduation, we invited them to come and we handed them a check of 1.2 million shillings. And from that humble beginning, right now we have, I would say, a portfolio with the help of about 24 million shillings, which we are hoping that in that revolving fund, it will be able to help more and more students.
We looked at ways where we can still have these economically challenged students and still meet their obligation in terms of settling the school fees, because it's needed. We have to give them and use money to train them. So we sought help with HELB, and so far so good. So many students have benefited from the fund, and we can only look forward for a brighter future, brighter partnership.
We partnered with the Kenya Maritime Authority to set up the Maritime Education and Training Scheme, or METS Fund, a loan product covering academic, proficiency, and competency courses. Together, we are empowering a pool of local experts for the blue economy.
To achieve this national goal, we must undertake a lot of partnerships. There are government structures that have been in place, and one of the government structure under training is creation of HELB, which is handling the different capacity building in the country in different ways. And the maritime aspect was not covered under that program. So we suddenly decided that for us to support Kenyans who are willing, who have the passion, who have the drive to enter into maritime sector job and handle the maritime sector functions, then we need to create a kitty, if you call it, that people can apply for loans in those, go for training and train once they get jobs, just like the other part of Europe in the industry, repay that kind of loan so that it becomes available, helpful to the Kenyans.
We aspired to be able to place the blue economy where it's on self-drive, light a fire that can never be put off. And I think we are getting there. That, when you begin to get to see the sector getting integrated into our national economic plans, when you begin to see programs that deliberately target to develop the sector, then you begin to see that the sky is the limit.
When HELB came, when it came for validation, HELB really helped so many people to validate their documents.
Kenya School of Law tuition loan supports students pursuing the Advocates Training Program, while law students sitting for their bar examinations for the first time can apply for the HELB bar examination loan rolled out in partnership with the Council of Legal Education, CLE.
So we are in year 1 of implementation, and we had 163 students who benefited. Because of that, there was a big reduction in the number of students who defer. Usually, when they apply, we send them admission letters, which have the fees that they need to pay, and we've been getting in the past a number of students that end up saying, I have to defer because I can't afford the fees. This year, almost all of them were able to register, so there was only a tiny amount who weren't able to register because of fees.
Our resource mobilization initiatives for the engineering students help increase national productivity by producing market-ready technicians and stimulating entrepreneurship.
Formal education is really well established in Kenya, with many universities that have cropped up all over Kenya. Technical education, on the other hand, is not available so well. And if you go back to countries like Germany and Austria, they have a technical program where when kids come out of high school, they either go into the technical side or they go into a more formal side. And we have basically taken that example and trying to use the knowledge that we have and the expertise we have to train young underprivileged kids to become technically efficient. And in this way, by giving them that skills, they can go out and earn a living into the market.
We have about 60% of our students get employed directly in the course they had studied. Then maybe 20%, since we insist on entrepreneurship, they start small businesses, and that helps them to be able to employ others.
It was easy for me to concentrate on education because when you are helped on funding, actually you do your best and you become the best to show also the funders that you can, and they are doing the best job also to help you.
In the finance and water and sanitation sectors, we partner with KASNEB and the Kenya Water Institute, or KEWI, respectively. The government has been pumping funds into education through counties and constituencies. These funds have mostly been distributed in the form of bursaries. However, in the absence of reliable systems of fair disbursement and transparent financial reporting, funds have been lost to inefficiencies and misappropriation, while the needs of students are not sufficiently met. To address this, various devolved units are now partnering with the Higher Education Loans Board to manage these funds, making HELB a central distribution point for education and training support to avoid duplication of effort.
We have created this fund through some legislation. So there is legislation that guides this particular fund. And we have agreed that we put in 20 million every year. We want this fund to grow up to 500 million.
We realize that some students get inadequate allocations. So if a student wanted 60,000, he's then looking at the available resources and the evaluation, the student then gets only 30 or 35,000, or even 37 for that matter. The needs of that student for accommodation, for feeding, and other books and other things is much more than that. So we thought if we could top up a little as a county through the HELB program, and that's why we have collaborated with the HELB program. Through that program, we can be able to enhance the loan available.
As counties, we don't have enough capacity, especially in assessing the needs that we have within the community. As much as we are giving bursaries to students in high school and even in colleges, we have found it a bit challenging.
Because of the budgetary constraints at the national level, the cap will always be there. Yeah, because priorities are many, especially at the national level. I realized that. That's why, as a county, we decided to bridge the gap. And I'm sure that if all counties, the 47, followed my example, then obviously that gap will be bridged. You can see Kakamega has put in 120 million. If all counties were to put in 120 million, those will be a lot of over 5 billion Kenya shillings. And if you have 5 billion at your disposal, definitely so many students, that gap, you will have bridged that gap.
We partner with corporations, trusts, and foundations in an ecosystem of shared value. ABSA, Standard Chartered Bank, Family Bank, and I&M have all helped us expand opportunities in higher education.
Each corporate, each company looks at it and say, how can I give back? How can I serve the market? Because the more you serve the market, the better your environment becomes. You know, we don't need unemployment in Kenya, and corporate world has to get involved.
The stories and experience of our beneficiaries over the past 26 years have been the building blocks of a bigger, brighter promise for generations ahead.
The main problem, I knew it was in secondary level. But the main thing that actually motivated me, through media, I used to listen to news. They were advertising for the support of HELB. I knew it was majorly in secondary. When I reach in a university or a college, I could be released, and actually it was done. So I was hopeful I could finish, however late.
I'm the first person to join college in my family, so I'm proud of it. I'm going to change the story of my family. The school has been supporting me through CHPF funds, and I applied for HELB. I got HELB 3 times now, and it has been of help to me till now.
So now, after I joined the school, I heard about HELB. I applied the first time. That's now where I saw light of finishing school. So I was helped by HELB.
The HELB loan imesaidia sana, sio karo tu, hata kwa mitihani. No one can defer or have an excuse of money because HELB has catered everything, the entire module.
Rather than one struggling or putting the academics to a pause so that they could go seek for the funds to come back, receipt, or sit down for the exams, then CLE helping with the by-examination funds has been the best way to make it easier for us to finish in due time. Partly it's also played a role into molding me into who I am currently in my line of profession. That being that it saw me through campus when I was undertaking my law studies, and even now through my post-diploma here at KSL. I'm grateful because it also seen me through my bar exams.
I was working as a registered nurse in the emergency department. Then I felt like I should go back to school and do a specialty, of which I did it in 2019. After 10 years, graduating from a diploma course, now I was going for a higher diploma, 2019 April. Then when I came back after graduation, now they saw that I'm capable of doing it. Then I was given some responsibility to be the deputy in charge of this department.
Today, we have a well-developed debt management infrastructure enhanced by strategic partnerships, big data, and backed by law, ensuring optimum repayment of loans, diaspora collections, informal sector management, and even prosecution if necessary. We are present countrywide through 28 Huduma centers and have experience working with both local and international funders.
If you know anything about HELB, you know they've been there for years. They've done this for years. They have a track record for years about administering this sort of a fund. And therefore, for the Council of Legal Education Fund to be able to benefit from that sort of sustainability and stability from HELB is invaluable to us. I would want to assume that any beneficiary of the fund would feel the responsibility to pay back for purposes of ensuring that the person that comes after you 5 or 10 years would be able to find something there. HELB has enabled the country to sustain education. Funders need to channel their funds through an organized institution that is capable of administering the fund and also allow for recovery of loan to enable new applicants and more Kenyans to access medical education.
Employers work in very close partnership with HELB. We are represented on the HELB board. I sit on the HELB board. And we ensure that people who are working in the formal sector repay the loans that they get from HELB. Employers facilitate that. It's a deduction that is done at the payroll level. And there's also a portal where employers can register voluntarily and therefore make sure that the loans are being repaid.
From the experience of decades of higher education financing, we offer high-value partnership that includes transparent online application, automated selection criteria, superior recovery mechanism, joint resource mobilization, information sharing, a wide branch network, and contact center, portfolio protection, governance structure, and data sharing.
The future for our organization is bright in terms of internal mechanisms. We are continuously improving. We have invested heavily on IT. We have a call center so that you don't have to come to anniversary towers. You know, those queues you used to see. The mode of payment, we have basically factored every possible mode of payment, whether you are within the country or outside the country.
So with me being here, I'm able to sensitize the students through the machine learning programs in conjunction with the high schools and institutions of higher learning such as Kilifi KMTC and Pwani University and the technical colleges here.
Today, a big financing gap stands between many young Kenyans and their dreams, and between the nation and her growth potential. But through a decade of working with different partners, we have evidence that only together can these gaps be closed and the future secured.
Let's see how we can actually come together, you and I, to see how we can recapitalize this organization so that in future we don't have this kind of crisis that we're having in terms of funding. So it's a clarion call, a call for action for everybody actually who is looking at this space and who is keen in terms of seeing that we have more skilled people being produced by our universities, that these students are actually comfortable in school and they can come and participate in a productive economy moving forward.
The first thing is we sign a service contract. The service contract will detail the obligation of the funder and the obligation of now HELB as the fund manager. And then we agree on the terms of the engagement, and it's from that the funding usually comes to HELB. When the funding now comes to HELB, we sit down with a committee of the funder, because we usually encourage there be an oversight committee or a technical working group that will guide on how the fund is managed. So that technical working group will determine how the application form will look, what are the cadres that you are going to look into, how the management will look into, and then they come on board.
If you want to be part of this journey, to change the story of Kenya one student at a time, please drop us a line on partnerships@helb.co.ke and we will be in touch. Higher Education Loans Board, empowering dreams.